Hello, everyone.
My hair is funky. It's crazy. I can't get it to like do anything today. I just had to throw on a hat and go with it. Oh, is the sound off? Yes. Okay. Hello, Alphas. Happy Friday. Today, I'm going to be editing some of your photos that were submitted to me via the Handmade Alpha Facebook community. Now, if you are not a member of the Handmade Alpha Facebook community, you need to join, and it's linked down below. That's where all of our Handmade Alphas kind of hang out and ask for help and give advice and motivation and blah, blah, blah. So be sure to join that, have some fun. There's a lot of Etsy themed Facebook groups that require you to pay like a monthly subscription and blah, blah, blah. And our alphas have all reported that joining our Facebook group is the best decision that they've ever made. And not to mention that it's completely free. So lots of fun there.
Charging for a Facebook group is kind of...
Yeah, that's doo-doo. And we have a lot of people who try to join our Handmade Alpha student campus. That is not for you unless you're a Handmade Alpha Academy student. So make sure that you're not trying to join the student campus because we will not approve you.
I think there's a few misconceptions of people that think that the Facebook group is the academy.
And that's
not the case.
No, it is not. So, and Handmade Alpha Academy won't be opening it until December. But let's go ahead and go over some news. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, let us know down in the comments. Hello, Amber Marie. Hello, Tara. Hello, Marcy. Hello. Let's see. My and me soapbox is always here. So for the first, I'm all over the place this morning. For the first 10 minutes of every stream, we just kind of hang out, we chill, we introduce, we talk about some news, and then right at noon on the dot, we will get on to the photo editing. So thanks to everybody who submitted, by the way. We are not going to be editing all of them. I did save a bunch. I passed over any that were not like crisp quality because there's no way that I can edit those and screen share. It's already going to probably be blurry for some of the video simply because that's just how streaming works. And with the photos being blurry too, that makes it worse. So
plug in our good mic. That would probably help.
Oh, give us just a second. Can they hear us?
Yeah, they can hear us.
Are you doing an unboxing soon? Yes, we're doing.
Yes, we just got like 6 things in the box, and we're waiting on a couple more things that we know are coming.
Yes, our fall unboxing. So if you haven't sent anything yet for Halloween, this is your last chance.
Cool.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, they should be able to hear us fine.
Let us know how you can hear us now if it sounds any better. We were using our webcam mic by accident there for a minute.
Plug into the computer, but not into the mic.
All right, so news, guys. Let's go ahead and... Did you video mine? I did, Amber, except we were upstairs on the couch because I just wanted to open it. But we did take a video of him opening it. All right, cool. Everyone can hear us. All right, so news. First of all, as I mentioned before, Handmade Alpha Academy will be opening in December. We will have lots of details, but it will be, we're pretty sure we're going to do it towards the beginning of December due to holiday festivities and yada, yada. So if you're, if your partner or whoever wants to buy, or a parent maybe wants to buy you an awesome Christmas present, just keep the Academy in mind. It will be opening in early December. Next bit of news. If you live in the Ohio area or within driving distance of Columbus, Ohio, I will be presenting 2 live presentations, kind of like mini master classes, but not Etsy specific, more of just a positive mindset and success type deal. Still kind of working on the specifics, but I'll be presenting live in Columbus, Ohio on October the 28th. And at that event, I will be giving away 2 scholarships to the Handmade Alpha Academy class of 2019. Super duper excited for that. If you want some details on that, you want to, go buy some tips. If you want to go buy the tickets, they're linked down below. The name of the event is B-Word Craft, that rhymes with witch, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get demonetized. I didn't name the event. It's a family-friendly event despite the name, and for some reason Facebook will not let me advertise it because they say that the name is too explicit. So
doesn't make any sense to me at all. Of all the crap that I see in my timeline of like people in surgery and like bombings in war-torn countries and blown apart bodies, it's ridiculous.
They just won't let me boost it. They'll let me
a bad word.
They'll let me post it. I didn't name it. but it's not like it's not an obscene event. It's just, that's just the name of it.
Be careful with words though, those hurt people's feelings.
But anyway, guys, sticker confetti. HA is awesome. You won't regret it. Oh, thank you, Yalissa. If you guys want to check out Yalissa's shop, or actually, if you want to head over to handmadealphaacademy.com and look at our actual homepage, you can scroll down and see our alphas of the quarter, which are our showcased Handmade Alpha Academy students. And you can look at their shops and kind of see what they have been building in the Handmade Alpha Academy. Those are all linked right from the front page if you kind of want to ponder on it before December rolls around. Awesome. Look at all of our HAA students hanging out today. Cool beans. We've got about 2 minutes left. Did I have any other news? I thought for sure that I had more news than that for you guys. We talked about the event. We talked about HAA opening. Oh, and our fan mail unboxing. For those of you who are wondering about that, we will be recording a like Halloween edition of our fan mail unboxings. But those packages have to be in like by next week, because on top of recording, those take me longer to edit than any other videos, like any of them. And I might end up having to make it a 2-parter because we already have so many.
Because we have a lot of normal conversation in between packages that has to be cut out because it's not suitable for YouTube.
We goof. We
goof.
We goof. Not about your product.
No.
Not about your products. It's just sometimes
we're just always inappropriate when we're by ourselves. So we have to
oh,
cut
yeah.
that all out.
I mean, we tried to be that way on YouTube, but people don't like it, so we got to be normal, I guess.
People started hating on it, so
hating.
I had to calm down specifically.
And people don't like him for some reason. I don't know.
I gotta be professional, me.
Oh, and let's go ahead and give a shout out to your shirt. Your shirt is by The Peaceful Hippie, which is actually linked. Your name is Courtney, right? Courtney from The Peaceful Hippie. Her shop is linked in our last unboxing video. So if you want to check out her shirts, last week I wore my alpha shirt, or my wolf shirt that she sent me, and totally just forgot to mention her. So we wanted to make sure that we gave her a shout out this week. What is unboxing?
It's when you open a box.
No. Down below, if you don't know what our unboxings are, you can find all the details linked down below. Our unboxing videos are basically us opening fan mail that you guys send us, and we take all of the products that you send us. We either put them on our back wall, or we put them in a giveaway. You can let us know if you want us to keep them, if they're gifts for us, or if they are to be added into the big giant alpha giveaway. So all of the information is linked down below, and you can check our channel for our previous unboxing videos.
So this is a good time to announce that Tara said, I'd like to send you something crocheted. Do you have a color preference for accessories?
Oh, yeah.
We have a lot of people ask us specifically, this isn't nearly as bad, just send us something that you think appropriate. If it's something that we like, we'll keep it. If it's something that we want to put in the giveaway,
right.
We'll put it. So don't worry about what we'll like. But we have a lot of people email us asking us to pick stuff out of our shop. That wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, don't ask us to pick something from your shop. Yeah. Color preferences are one thing, but when you guys message us and say just pick something, because we don't want to, we want you to just send us what you want us to feature in the video.
Well, you want to be showcased.
Yeah, so don't worry about sending us something that we won't like. If it's a gift, just send us something, and if it's something, I mean, we'll put it in a giveaway. It's not about sending us something we like. Ultimately, we want items for the giveaway too, Right. And it's not about what we like. It's about what the other people like. Like, surprise us, because the focus is to get your products on camera in front of thousands of people, so people will, go see your shop. So just send us the thing that you want everybody to see.
And our channel is growing. We hit 9,000 subscribers today.
We hit 9,000 today.
And we're almost at 400,000 views. So that's pretty cool.
So awesome.
If you do need size preferences or something, like if you do want to send us something specific and you want sizes, that's fine. You can ask for that kind of stuff.
Clothing and things like that. Sometimes we're slow to reply because we actually have to do measurements and things like that.
Since clothing is a little bit harder to put in a giveaway, because obviously once we have it, we can't change the size of it. Right. So anyway, let's move on.
All right, guys, it is noon 01 on the dot. Today, I'm going to be taking some of the photos that you submitted to me via the Handmade Alpha Facebook community, link down below. And like I said before, I can't edit all of them because we had so many submitted, but I'm going to get through as many as I possibly can. What I'm basically going to do is show you how to do some of the more difficult edits using iPicky.com. Now, iPicky is also linked down below. It is a photo editing website. It is not an app. You do not have to download anything. It is not software, and it is free, and it is comparable to Photoshop. So that's the really cool thing about it.
I'm deleting all the stuff out of my...
Yeah, and that'll make it move faster too.
Well, there's also things in there that they don't need to see, like my IP address and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
That's why I said before we actually do this, you should get the folder open so people aren't seeing the memes.
Oh.
Just get iPicky ready to go and all the photos uploaded, and then you can screen share it.
Yeah, because he's got all his memes.
I meme a lot, and most of them I would not want you guys to see. Oh man.
So anyway, guys, what I'm going to be doing is taking some of these edits and editing them in iPicky.com. Down below, you'll find my iPicky training series. Where the heck is the Alpha folder, sweetie? It's called Alpha Photos or something like that. There it is down here. We're a mess today. Just grab them all. We'll try all of them. Anyway, 15. There's 15 total.
Okay.
Anyway, guys, the iPicky training series is linked down below. It will show you the specifics of how to use iPicky. I created this training. However, I will be doing a reboot of the training very soon. Same content. I just want to refresh the video because I had a really bad microphone when I recorded it, but it's still our most popular video of all time, or the first video of that training series. So be sure to watch the entire thing. That will get you started. If you haven't yet watched it, this whole process might be a little bit confusing because I'm just going to assume that you've already seen it, but you can still watch it live today. Go back and watch the iPicky training series later if you haven't already, and then come back and watch this Q&A again, okay? And it will all make sense. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm not going to be able to see your comments. However, Mr.
laptop going over.
Yeah, Mr. Moore's got the laptop, and you guys are free to ask questions about anything, not just photo related, because a majority of this stream will be you guys seeing my screen as I am editing, okay? Are you looking for Halloween items for... So if you're going to send us Halloween items for the unboxing, you need to get them out by next week, because that's probably
we need them by next week.
Yeah.
So they need to be out like.
And if you're international, it's probably too late.
Yeah, if you're international, there's no way it'll make it over here.
But if not, don't worry. We want to do a huge one for Christmas. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick, and you guys just let me know when you see the iPicky screen.
Or I could tell you.
Let me know when you see the iPicky screen. Do they see
there? There it goes.
Awesome. All right. And just a disclaimer, guys, we do keep ad blocker on for these particular videos. I know a lot of people get mad about ad blocker. The thing is, we can't control what ads pop up here. And if we don't have ad blocker, something inappropriate might pop up and get us demonetized or something worse. So these are the products that we're going to be editing today. I apologize. I cannot remember offhand who all of the shops are, who submitted them. However, if you see yours here and we start editing, just type it in the comments, let us know, and Mr. Moore will give you a shout out. So first up, this was the first photo that was submitted, and I want to do this first. Chicken coop candles, and the scent is hot cocoa. I really, really like this photo simply because you can see all of the details of the top of this lid, but obviously what we want to do is lighten it. Now, the reason that we want to lighten our photos to white or close to white is that if you go onto Etsy and go into what's known as their editor's pick, which you can find right from the front page of Etsy.com, you'll notice that almost all of the products that Etsy personally recommends have light or white backgrounds. And people get really hung up when I say this. They say, oh, I can't take my photos on a white background. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule, but in most cases, your products are going to look better on a white or light background. That doesn't have to be stark white. It can be ash wood. It can be gray. It can be beige, as long as it is light and neutral. Okay, so that's ultimately how I'm going to be editing these.
Somebody asked, when is the unboxing? We don't know yet. It just depends on how many products we get in. We wanted to give it like another week and a half for more people to get their stuff in, because we do have people that specifically said that they were sending us stuff. So probably in a week and a half, we'll record it. So that means it'll probably be what, end of October-ish?
Yeah,
early
Halloween.
November.
No, Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay.
For Halloween. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and start. What we're going to do in iPicky.com is go into this tab right here called Exposure. This is in the Basic Editor tab, which you can find over to the left. I do want to point out that if the white screen bothers your eyes at all, you can also turn to a dark version right here. A lot of people tend to prefer this.
I leave it white for the presentation.
Right.
It'll be easier for them to see. Also, when you're scrolling over stuff, make sure you move your mouse slow because screen cap only records at like 10 frames per second.
All
so
right.
If you jump and click and move, the mouse just disappears.
Anyway, so the first thing that we're going to do is go into the exposure tab. Now, the one thing that you don't want to do is go right into exposure and turn it up, because ultimately what exposure is going to do is add this really nasty fog, okay? And you don't want your photos to look foggy. So instead of using exposure, go ahead and turn that back down to 0. What we instead want to do is use the highlights tab, because what this is going to do is make the light areas of the photo just a little bit lighter. Now, I don't recommend turning it up all the way initially, because despite the fact that, you know, the background is white, we've also kind of washed out the actual product itself. So what I like to do is turn it up just enough. I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's still kind of a shaded hue to the photo. We're going to turn it up just enough. You can kind of see some dark spots here. It's not perfect yet, but we're going to go ahead and apply this initial layer. We're only increasing that highlight a little bit. And now we're going to add a second layer of highlight. So this is where people tend to mess up. They, you know, crank the highlight up all the way and they say, wow, it washed my product out. iPicky doesn't work for me. Well, when you crank it up all the way, you're highlighting the entire photo. What you should instead be doing is adding every application in a layer. So we've done one layer. Let's go ahead and do a second layer where we increase it to the point where our background is white. What do you think, Mr. Moore? Does this look good and white?
Yeah. Let me actually, while you're editing,
good and clean.
It won't be. I don't think they'll be able to see this. Let me turn my brightness back up. I turn my brightness on my monitor down for gaming because it washes out the colors a little bit.
All right, there we go. All right, so what we're then going to do, as you can kind of see, we've washed out the words a little bit on the label by turning up that second layer of highlights. Instead, what we're going to do is go into this little brush called Effects Mask, okay? And we're going to reverse the effect. What this is going to do is make your brush the applicator for the highlight. So I don't know how well you can see this on screen, but basically what I'm doing is painting on that second layer of highlight without getting too close to the product itself.
Basically getting rid of the shadow in the paper grain.
Right. And when you use, I highly recommend just using a poster board.
Here behind the mic.
I am. I highly recommend using something that isn't textured, like a poster board or a piece of paper. When you use things like fabric for your backdrop, or when you use things like when you use things like a towel, I see a lot of people try to take their photos on white towels. It looks messy, it looks sloppy, and there's no way to get all of those textures out. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and apply this layer. Are you watching the comments?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next thing that we're going to do, because I still want to bring out these words a little bit. Obviously, they've washed out quite a bit. So what I'm then going to do is go into this tab over here called Sharpen. And I'm going to turn up. You can play with the sharpness. Sometimes it looks good on certain products, but you don't want to do it too much. Otherwise, you can kind of see here, it really pixelates.
It tries to create straight lines out of the curves and makes it more jagged than anything.
So if you ever goof up, you can always hit back and get rid of that application. So instead, what I'm going to do...
You got rid of your exposure.
There we go. So instead, what we're going to do is go into the Sharpen tab and use Clarity. And what Clarity is going to do is make your dark spots darker and your light spots lighter. Now, one mistake I commonly see is alphas cranking that clarity up all the way. Sometimes I even see them cranking up the clarity and the sharpness all the way. And look at how pixelated and awful it makes this look. It looks terrible. So I don't recommend cranking it up all the way. Just make sure that you're getting basically just darkening up those dark spots so that they're more prominent so you can see them a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and
go just a little bit higher.
Are you right about here?
Yeah, that looks good.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and click apply. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do, and I only recommend doing this for reflective products. So I'm talking about silver jewelry, especially.
Cam asked what program this is. It's not a program. This is the website ipicky.com.
It's linked down below.
It's linked down below the video.
Right. So, Elena, go ahead and read her question.
How do you zoom in and out so smoothly as you are working? We're just using the mouse wheel.
Yeah, if your mouse has a wheel in the center, that is how you zoom in and out. You can also grab and kind of drag around. Or,
as long as you don't have a tool in place.
Right. I do not recommend using a laptop with a trackpad for editing photos. It's nearly impossible. I've tried for years and I can't do it. You can also grab down here in the corner. You can kind of see how I'm navigating here. If you want to zoom in on a very specific area, you can navigate with the box down in the corner, okay? So I'm going to zoom back out. Now, what I was getting at, though, is that when you are photographing a product that is reflective or silver, mainly, this is mainly a problem I see with products that have silver, like this tin lid. What I recommend doing is going into the tab called Hue and Saturation, turning that saturation down, and not all the way down because people can kind of tell when a product is black and white, but just a little bit, just so you can kind of see a little bit natural color, not too much. And then what we're going to do is go in and reverse the effect again, okay? So this is going to make our brush now the tool that is going to take away that saturation. Brush size, obviously, that kind of is self-explanatory. Brush hardness will basically make your lines hazier or crisper. I don't like using it all the way at max hardness simply because it's really difficult to edit precisely. I like to kind of give it a little faded look. And then basically what I'm going to do is go in and remove a little bit of this icky color from the silver of this lid, okay? And you can always go back to original if you goof like I just did and color back in. We're just going to go ahead. And
a lot of people saying, should I get a mouse for my Mac? I use a laptop, no external mouse. Yeah,
absolutely.
It'll take, once you get used to using a mouse with a wheel on your laptop, it's going to significantly cut down your editing time. It makes a huge difference. Editing with a trackpad is anxiety inducing.
It's almost impossible. I've actually, I mean, when we were on the road, when we moved from California to Ohio, I had just did a product launch, so I still had to market. So I completely relied on our laptop to be able to advertise my my winter product line. And there were times that I just wanted to throw the laptop across the room. And you have to consider that I've been using iPicky for almost 7 years now. And not even I can do it on a laptop. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I am saying that you're going to save yourself a lot of stress by getting yourself an external mouse that has a actual wheel on it so that you can zoom in and out. Otherwise, you don't have any way.
We got a hater.
Oh, no.
Tell the guy to stop interrupting. It's annoying.
The guy is my husband, and I actually love him.
Yeah, I'm actually just reading comments. But
hey.
Thanks, man.
Hey.
I'm sure you're well loved all over.
All right, so now we're going to go ahead, finish this one up. And just a heads up, guys, if you start using iPicky.com and you feel like it's just the hardest thing in the world, first of all, go to my iPicky training series, link down below. Second of all, know that it takes time and practice. What I recommend doing is take a bunch of photos that you don't necessarily intend to use for your business and just practice with them. Get the hang of using the tool, you know, practice as much as possible, because ultimately I've been using this program for years, which is why I can edit so quickly. So now we have this edited photo. I think it looks a heck of a lot better. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a comparison shot. Let's see. So you guys can see a before and after. There we go. Ta-da! So what we've done is we've made the lettering a little bit bolder by using the sharpen tool or the clarity tool within the sharpen tab. We've removed a little bit of the color from the actual tin, and we have lightened the background and gotten rid of all of this kind of grayish color that we're seeing here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Actually, I'm not going to worry about saving these because you guys can do them on your own. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab the next photo, and I'm just going to kind of work down the line. So we'll go ahead, don't save. All right, so next up, the main problem with this photo that I can see and what's making it so difficult is I can tell that the photo was not taken in natural lighting. When you take product photos, I highly recommend you take them either close to a window or, and this might have been taken close to a window, but my ultimate recommendation is to go outside. Go outside in a shaded area, never ever in direct sunlight. And we've got a few examples that in the iPicky training series where I talk about using direct sunlight and how it completely just goofs up the way that your products look. So the lighting situation is not ideal for this photo, and the photo itself is a little bit foggy. So there's not going to be a whole lot that I'm going to be able to do with this. One thing that I will say is sometimes something that might take you 8 hours to finish editing, not really, more like an hour, could take you 2 seconds to go out and reshoot, you know, outside. Sometimes it's easier to just go retake a photo than it is to spend time editing a photo that isn't ideal. So I'm going to do my best on this one, but I am throwing out the disclaimer that this photo is not really ideal. And you should definitely go outside and take your photo in some natural light. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go back into the exposure tab, and I'm going to use that highlights tool. Like I said, we can already see that the ear of the deer is washing out significantly, which is ultimately where the problems are going to be. So what we want to do is just add in a slight layer right about here. And then I'm going to add in another layer of highlights, which I'm going to use a manual brush by clicking reverse effect. If you're just joining us, be sure to watch the replay because I explain all of this in depth.
Somebody asked how you saw the before and after. Just add a layer, put the original picture in.
Right. I just pulled up the original photo. I'll show you again when I do this one. So you can kind of see how this is difficult and why it's difficult to edit these photos in these dark environments, because there's no way that I can bring out the detail of the light spots. You know what I mean? Like this ear, it's going to be lost if I, you know, and this photo is going to take me a significant amount of time even to edit just because of the lighting situation. So definitely, I mean, even if it's storming outside, if you're, you know, I would wait. Just wait until you've got a clear day. Don't wait until the last minute to take product photos. I know a lot of people say, oh, my launch is tomorrow and I got to get photos done. Do that like a week in advance so you can make sure that you're getting a nice clear day. Even if it's cold outside, I live in Ohio, we get blizzards and I'm still out there sitting, you know, in the snow taking my product photos. So there is no like amount of, I don't want to say excuses. There's no amount of griping that will change my mind when it comes to having these natural light photos. They look better and they pay off. Your photos are the most important thing that you can do for your Etsy listings. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this layer. I'm going to go ahead and go back into exposure. We're going to try to get another layer in. That might be.
Somebody said, I assume we can do similar actions with Photoshop elements. Yeah, I mean, obviously with Photoshop, you can probably do similar things. It's just that is a really significantly more difficult tool to learn than something like iPicky. So if you already know how to do it, go ahead. But this is more for people that don't have access to paid programs.
Right. And that's why we recommend iPicky. I mean, it's also, I teach an entire like huge module in my Handmade Alpha Academy about iPicky, because my ultimate goal for you guys is to teach you how to do things like this without having to pay for expensive programs.
Right.
Because I know that a lot of you starting out, it's going to be difficult.
And I used to use Photoshop for editing pictures, and I actually prefer this just for simplicity.
Oh, we hear that all the time. We have so many. We have Handmade Alpha.
We can afford Photoshop, but we choose to use iPicky because we like how simplistic it is.
Right, and we have alphas in our academy who have had Photoshop for years who say that they still prefer the ease of use when it comes to iPicky because there's like, I mean, there's really no learning curve. I actually taught Mark how to edit my product photos on iPicky. And for the most part, he does all of my product editing for me. I don't really, for my Art by Starla Moore launches, if you're unfamiliar with my shop, it's linked down below. You can actually look at some of my product photos from our most recent launch, all of the Halloween keys. Mark edited all of those using my iPicky training series and, you know, just kind of playing with iPicky and learning on his own. And what it took you, it only took you a couple of hours, didn't it?
Yeah, and there were probably over 100 pictures. It took me about an hour and a half.
Yeah, we usually have about 500 photos for my product launches. So, and that, you know, includes advertising, teasers, listing photos, so on and so forth.
Starla clicking every time she's wiping that color away or holding the mouse button down?
I'm holding the mouse button down, but sometimes I do tap into color.
Usually when you get close to borders and stuff like that, you want to tap to make sure you're not taking too much out. Start further away and work your way in.
Right. For example, right here, I'm going tap, 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 tap.
Yeah, because when you're close like that, you have a tendency to slip, and you don't want to end up highlighting something crazy. Even if, you can take it back.
Right. If I were to goof up and make a big streak here, you just go to original, and then you can color it back the way, you know, the way that it was before.
Is there a video on how to take product pictures? I have lighting issues too. Yes.
I do have a video. It is, that video gets a lot of hate because everyone's like, you're just advertising your products. I'm like, sweetheart, I don't need to advertise my products. They sell out in seconds. But anyway, that video is called How I Take My, I think it's How I Take My Listing Photos for Etsy. And I'm actually outside on my porch. And anytime you see me doing a product launch, that's literally how I do all of my product shoots. I just sit outside on my porch with a poster board. I don't buy any expensive equipment or anything like that. All right, so this looks pretty good. We've got a little bit of shadowing that I would like to leave in here just to give the product itself a little bit of depth. I do see one spot right here that I want to get rid of.
The big thing with this, even though we're fixing this and the background is better now, the main issue is that a lot of the colors are going to be a lot more washed than if you took it in a naturally lit environment. The blues aren't going to be as blue. The blacks are going to be lighter, more grayish.
Not to mention, this took a lot of time. You know, if you're doing a product launch of 10 products and you're doing 10 photos per product for your Etsy listings, how much time is that going to take you? So
it shouldn't be taking you any more than about 5 minutes to edit a picture, as long as it's not super complex.
Right. And 5 minutes is about how long it takes us. So next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is turn down the saturation on the shadows. That's one of the biggest mistakes that I see alphas making. They take a product photo like this that has a little bit of shadowing, which does give some depth to the product. I love seeing a little bit of shadow. However, they leave it yellow, and you never want to have a yellow shadow. It looks gross. So what I like to do is go down to hue and saturation and turn that saturation either all the way down, or like I said, I personally prefer only a little bit. That way there's just a slight color to it, almost just a little bit of color to make it look realistic.
More of a gunmetal gray instead of just straight gray.
Well, the thing about making it 100% just black and white is that people can tell. You can you can kind of tell, and it's one of those things that I noticed when if I see someone's edited photo, especially with silver jewelry, if they take all of the color out of it, I can tell that it's not just really pretty silver. I can tell that it's a black and white photo. So you want to leave just a little bit of color in there.
I think it has something to do with the shine on the metals with those as well. The shine comes completely different because there's a specific contrast to a shine, and when you make it black and white, the contrast just completely leaves the shine.
Going around the edge here, being a little bit sloppy, but I want to get through some of these photos, more of these photos for you guys. So obviously, if you were doing these on your time, you would spend a little bit more time on them. Mr. Moore, you want to read some comments, even if they're not questions?
Let's see here. There was one. I'm having a very hard time with white soap on the white background. Right now it looks like yucky gray, but upping exposure makes the soap disappear. I personally would go with like a flat gray, like a matte gray background if you're using a white product, but
right, you don't necessarily have to use white. What I would recommend, like he said, you could use gray. I personally like to go get scrapbook paper from craft stores, the wood textured papers that you can get in the scrapbook section. Those are really, really great for doing things like this. And you can find some really nice like gray ashwood ones that look really nice. So that would be my suggestion. It'll make it a lot easier. And who knows, it might, you know, it might complement your branding a little bit more to have some type of texture to your background. All right, so I've taken a little bit of that color out of the bottom. The next thing that I'm going to do is go into the Sharpen and Clarity tab. I'm going to turn up the clarity a little bit, right about here. And then the next thing that I would like to do is add a little bit of saturation back into the deer, because I'm just going to assume that this photo, since it was so washed out, that a lot of the color was removed from the deer. Now, one thing I will say when it comes to saturation is that you can always make your products look prettier by cranking the saturation up to an unrealistic number. However, when that product arrives in the customer's hands, they're going to feel duped. So make sure that you use saturation only to restore color that your camera has taken away from the original product. When you hold your product next to this photo, the color should be identical, okay? And cameras tend to kind of take away a little bit of that saturation. So what I'm going to do is just increase that saturation slightly, and then I'm going to go in with a manual brush. And I'm going to remove a little bit of it from the white, because I'm just going to assume that this isn't pink.
That's probably hue from the light that was coming through.
Yeah.
Somebody said they've been using Photo Fuse. How do we feel about that?
I haven't used Photo Fuse, and I can't weigh in on anything that I haven't personally used. So I usually have top tools that I stick to. If you guys find others that you like, you know, more, that's perfectly fine. But
we can't really support you because we don't know how to use it.
Right. And it's not, you know, my thing is find one thing that works and stick to it. And this is my thing that works. Thousands of alphas have loved it as well. I've been using iPicky for years. It's been like my hidden gem. And when I created my iPicky training series, it was really cool because not a lot of people had ever heard of it. In fact, I don't think anybody had really ever heard of it. So it was almost like uncovering a secret to everybody that I had kept for years. And now I even see, you know, huge Etsy shops talk about using iPicky. So that's really, really cool that, you know, so many people have started using it. I'm going to go ahead and remove a little bit of that.
Somebody asked to use iPicky to make your Etsy banners. We use iPicky for literally every photo that we put anywhere.
Right. If you see any advertising photos, the Handmade Alpha banners, any marketing, anything that you get from me by email, any photos of myself, all of those are done through iPicky. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here with this one. We'll show a before and after. The way that I did that is I just went into this layering tab right here, and I grabbed the original. So let's go ahead and do a side-by-side. Here is the difference. We have a nice, crisp, clean photo. It took a really long time to edit, so I would highly recommend making sure that you're, you know, really, really utilizing your light source, because I wouldn't want to see you spending so much time on a single photo. So let's go ahead and we will go back into our photo library and grab another one. Now this one, it looks like you used a light box. The problem that I have with this photo is that there's not going to be any way for me to salvage the little tuft of hair on top. It's already pretty much gone. So this might be one of those occasions where you don't want to use a solid white background. Maybe switch to something that is more of a grayish tone.
Or dim the lights just a little bit.
Right. I don't know if it looks like you're using a light box or a some type of spotlight. I can see that based on the position of this shadow and the crispness of it. It looks like you're using an actual light. So maybe try doing it outside. That might help you a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of ignore the tuft of hair on the top. I'm going to have to wash it out while editing. So we're going to go ahead and go into the exposure tab again.
And if you do have to use your light box, you could even, if you don't have any way to dim your lights, if they're not dimmable, just put a piece of paper in front of one of them.
Yes.
And that'll cut the light.
Yes, and I do that. I even, when I take photos outside, I will even hold up a piece of paper to kind of direct the light a little bit more. And I use it to keep the reflection of our house out of my silver jewelry. Sometimes our house kind of leaves a really yucky yellowish tone on my silver jewelry.
Or the moss on the tree.
Or the moss on the tree. Yeah, you'll see green in my original key photos before we edit them, and lots of like red tones from our brick house. So we like to go in and just kind of get rid of all those icky colors. Carefully going around the edges. Not as carefully as I hope you guys are, because...
And you don't really have to worry too much about, like, if you're super zoomed in and you see that it brightened up a bit of the yarn there, like when you zoom out, you're not going to see that.
Right. I mean, it's good to be nitpicky, but don't be too nitpicky. Otherwise, you'll spend 6 hours on one photo.
Don't be your worst critic.
Right. Now you will see that there is a crease in this paper, which is what led me to believe that this is a light box. What I want to do is ultimately lighten the photo enough to get rid of that crease. I would like to try to keep a little bit of shadowing, but it doesn't look like the light source is going to be good enough for me to keep too much shadowing, because I don't see a lot of shadowing on the product. I'm going to try to keep the shadowing under the legs. What shadowing does is it gives your product some depth, because without that shadowing, it kind of just looks like your product is floating in thin air. It looks very out of place. It looks over edited. When you leave just a little bit of shadow, you can really see the depth of the product and view it more as a three-dimensional item sitting on a, on a solid surface, as opposed to a product that is floating or, cut out.
Couple questions.
All right.
I have trouble layering multiple pictures and making them blend naturally. Can you give an example of doing this? Probably not on this one.
Right, not today, because that's more of an advertising photo tip, which we do have an advertising photo video. I assume that that's what you watched. It is called How to Make Jaw-Dropping Marketing Photos Using iPicky, I believe. That is in the iPicky Trading Series, link below, though. I think it's one of the last videos.
Yeah, and somebody asked if you could show them how to create an Etsy banner and marketing materials using iPicky.
I have a video on my channel already from last year that will teach you exactly how to create an Etsy banner with iPicky. So a lot of these, a lot of the things that you guys are asking, just, pop open that iPicky training series. I promise that a lot of that information is already in there. I got you covered.
And with you actually brightening up that background, that white on the floof is a little bit more noticeable now.
Right. Well, what I did was I just kind of avoided this general area, and you can still see a little bit of gray, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead.
Leave it in there. It looks kind of like a shadow.
Right. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this. I'm going to increase the saturation just a little bit, just assuming that the camera probably took out a little bit of saturation. Right about here looks good. And then with yarn, sometimes you can increase the clarity and it'll look good. In this case, I think it looks pretty neat. However, I've also seen a lot of people who increase clarity on yarn and it does this. So it's really just going to depend on your product.
Yeah, I think the higher resolution your pictures are and the fluffier your yarn is, because there's all those little fibers. If you have a really high resolution picture, it's going to take every one of those little fibers and try to fatten them up so it makes it look all fuzzy.
Right.
Isn't a cloudy, bright day good for pictures? I find landscapes popping that lighting.
For product, I actually find that cloudy days tend to, for my products at least, I don't prefer cloudy days, because they add this really gross, we call it the blue, the blue hue. They add this really nasty blue color to my product photos. So I think it's just going to depend. Personally, I like a bright sunny day, but in a shaded area for my own product photos. But here's a side-by-side comparison. We got rid of the crease in this paper. We highlighted the area around the product without taking the shadow away. I didn't decrease the saturation in the shadow just because I don't think that there's enough shadow here for it to really matter all that much. So there is the difference here, before and after. All right, I'm going to go ahead and discard our changes and move on.
I sell lettered quotes on canvases, so all my lines are straight. It makes it super difficult when I go to edit them. Any tips for editing with straight lines? Go slow.
Just go slow. That's unfortunately, that's one of those things. We'll be doing one straight line product here in just a little bit.
Don't edit super zoomed out either. I would zoom in as much as you can when you get close to those, and then all the stuff on the outside gets easier to do.
Now, Chris submitted this photo. Chris, my suggestion ultimately would be to make sure that you balance this lighting. I don't know if you meant to make the lighting, you know, phone call. Probably spam. Chris, I'm not sure if you meant to make this lighting two-toned, but ultimately this is going to be a very difficult photo to edit. There is a lot of texture down here. You don't want to show off textures. Textures should only be in the product because you want people to focus on the texture that's here, not on the texture that's down here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and try my best on this one. I don't see a whole lot of hope for this particular photo, though, simply because there's so much texture here.
There's a lot of light, too, a lot of different colors in light.
That's what I said. I'm not sure if maybe she was going for like a two-tone. A two-tone. I'm not sure. But I'm going to try my best to go along the edges. Another thing is I don't know if you want to have this base in the photo because if I get rid of the base and I make the entire photo white, you're going to have a little piece of yarn that doesn't appear to be connected.
So another person asking, how do you pull the original photo to see the side-by-side? You just you go into the layering tool and you add a layer and pull it outside the photo.
Right, and I'll do that after every photo and re-explain it every time, guys. So just give me just a second.
Chill.
I'll do it. Chill, we'll do it.
How do you handle negative reviews on Etsy?
How
with lethal force.
No. Negative reviews on Etsy. I mean, nobody likes to leave a negative review. So my ultimate suggestion is to...
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, most people don't want to leave a negative review. They just want a good product. So always, I like to tell people to always consider that everything that the customer is saying is absolutely right, even if they're wrong. And yeah, that really sucks. And sometimes it makes it feel like your pride is getting stomped on. However, those reviews are more valuable to you than the price of the product itself. And that is true for SEO. That is true for the way that your other customers are going to perceive you. First impressions, branding, having those good reviews is everything. So when you receive a bad review, my ultimate suggestion is to message that customer and ask them how you can make their experience better, okay? Because, you know, you don't want them to walk away upset. Now, if you're interested in learning how to avoid getting those bad reviews in the first place, I will actually be re-releasing my SSAR swipe files, which will help significantly. Basically, these swipe files are messages that you send to your Etsy customers throughout the process of their order. They are 100% Etsy terms of service compliant. They do not violate any of Etsy's terms of service because they are transactional messages. And if you are on the Handmade Alpha VIP list, which is linked down below, you'll be the first to gain access to those when I re-release them. I'm hoping to do that before the holidays. That way you guys can start using them. So make sure that you're on the VIPs.
Somebody asked, would you use the blurred editor to blur the textured floor? Would that be okay?
You could, but you just have to be very, very skillful with it. Because the thing is, when in a natural photo, when something is blurred, only areas are blurred. So for example, there would be a horizon where the photo would be in focus. So just blurring everything on the textured background, not only would it be time consuming, but it would also look very unnatural. We really want our photos to look natural. I'm doing my best to kind of go along the edges here. Ultimately, my biggest problem is trying to edit around this pillar. I don't think that there's a whole lot that I can do for it.
Somebody said, do I send swipe files through the conversation on Etsy or should I email them?
Never email. This is exactly why I'm creating this new series for these, because so many people are sending them by email. For one, Etsy stopped giving us customer emails. So you shouldn't have customer emails anyway. But for two, emailing a customer directly from Etsy violates Etsy's terms of service. So never, ever send them by email. I say it all the time, but people still tend to, you know, miss it. which is, like I said, that's exactly.
That's a no-no.
Yeah. We don't want to see anybody get in trouble and come to us and say, Starla, you told me to.
And this is one of those things you kind of have to treat like a job as well, because it's not one of those things where, like, if you get caught and something bad happens, they're not going to say, oh, you didn't know, it's okay. They're just they're gonna slam you.
Right, with Etsy.
So, yeah, with Etsy.
Well, because they expect that all of their sellers have read their handbook, you know.
You do agree to the terms and conditions when you sign up for a shop, so.
Right. So, and I mean, if you ever have any questions, always check Etsy. Check Etsy directly. Check their terms of service. You know, you can always, you know, look at that. Look at the seller handbook and make sure that you're following their rules, which we check it every time that there's an update to make sure that we're up to date. So
will the swipe file training be on YouTube?
No, it will not. It will only be sent out to the VIP list. So make sure that you're on the list. All right. So this is about all I can do in terms of lightening this photo. As you can see, there's still a lot of texture here, and there's no way that I'm going to be able to remove it all, unfortunately. So the only other thing that I can suggest doing here is removing some of the saturation from the undersides of these shadows. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because we're already...
that was most of our time on the last picture, so...
Yeah, we're already kind of...
I might go up around...
Oh, like, you bumped my arm.
I didn't touch you. Go up around maybe like this.
Yeah.
And get rid of the green hue on the white cup.
Let's see. Go ahead and try to get... There's just so many colors going on here.
Well, they had that blue light on that side.
Right. I don't know if it was a blue light or just like how the natural light was kind of...
Could be.
Sometimes,
could have been a bright sunny day outside.
Yeah, sometimes a blue sky will give you that that look. Let's go ahead and turn this hardness up. Edit along the edges.
Somebody said, haha, a toilet roll? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Hard to tell. It looks kind of like a paper, like a styrofoam cup or something.
No, I think it's an actual head form. I think it might be a toilet paper roll.
Oh, no, it is. Chris, it's my dragon. I did not intend anything with this photo. That's a toilet roll under the dragon hat.
Okay. I
said this was my first attempt at taking a product photo, so apologies. Nothing to apologize for. We all learn over time.
All right. So like I said, I'm just kind of dotting in a little bit. But here is a decent, you know, version. Obviously, get rid of the textured flooring that you have going on here.
Yeah, because at that point, it kind of looks like it's part of the dragon hat.
Right. We can go ahead and turn up the clarity a little bit. I think that the colors are okay enough that I don't need to touch up on the saturation. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, and for those of you who are asking how I'm doing the side-by-side comparisons, all I'm doing is going into the layering tab, going into my photo library. Since I've already uploaded the photo, it's already in here, and I'm pulling it over. Oop. And then we'll go ahead and pop it open. And there is your side-by-side comparison of the two. A lot cleaner. I was able to do more with this photo than I thought I was going to be able to do.
Sonora K said, can you use the mask tool to remove the texture?
You might be able to. Another thing that you can probably do is go into the skin editor here, go into wrinkle remover, and sometimes you can get rid of textures by using wrinkle remover.
Yeah, it's just going to add too much fuzz.
Yeah, but once again, it does add, and not to mention that, but
it's like the dragon had a hot fart.
The dragon had a hot fart. It doesn't look as too bad. The only thing is that green is kind of starting to bleed over into the shadow. That actually looks okay.
Yeah, I would probably do some more work with like saturation and stuff to get that to be more realistic, but
right.
We don't need to do that right now.
Going in and, you know, using that wrinkle remover to kind of touch up will help a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel.
Is there a way to adjust white balance in iPicky?
Not, you know, I'm not sure. It kind of depends on what you mean by white balance, because
if you're talking about just cranking the contrast, kind of. I mean, do that with exposure.
Right. Someone's going to have to answer that for me.
Light and contrast right there.
I mean, you can brighten the photo, but this is almost the exact same as exposure.
Contrast is white. Contrast is white balance.
Well, that's not pretty.
The thing with adjusting white balance, especially on products like this, the colors would come out to be completely different than what the actual product is. So again, you've got that issue of somebody gets something and it's not the same shade of green, and they might be disappointed, you know.
Right. All right, next up we have a mug. Whoever made this mug should comment so we can give you credit. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. Increase these highlights. There's a lot of reflective surfaces, so I don't want to turn those highlights up too much, or else we're just going to kind of accentuate those surfaces.
We're not going to comment on that GFT Woodcraft Marmalade question.
Oh, no. Yeah, we only use Etsy rank for reasons that I don't want to talk about.
That was Annie Christie. Yay, it's my mug.
Yay! What's your shop? Don't link it. Just give us the name of it, because if you post a link, our chat will boot you.
It won't boot her. It'll just
block
it won't let her post it.
Yeah. Let us know what your shop is. Going along the edges, I just want to kind of...
How much space around an object? You mean like how much space should you have? That's totally...
Yeah, it just depends on the object. It depends. I mean, usually you want to have quite a bit of space. So for a listing photo, my suggestion for this particular product would be to take a step back, you know, give yourself a little bit more space, because this is really close up. You want to show off.
It's subjective.
Right. You want to show off the details of the product, but you don't want to get like too close and personal.
This one I personally like being close, just because you have all like the little blue dots and you have the fade from blue to green.
Right. But
I would leave this one, but maybe have another one where you have it maybe set out on like a full setup on a coffee table kind of thing.
Right.
Like a lifestyle picture.
I wouldn't use something so close up as a thumbnail. And I also wouldn't... Personally, I don't like square thumbnail photos, and that's just me. You know, you guys can...
You can run into scaling issues on mobile if they're too close up anyway.
Right.
Where it'll just be like the middle of your mug.
All right. Now, obviously, I want to leave a little bit of shadow here. Once again, we're going to take some of that color out of the shadow by using that saturation tab. Not going to turn it down all the way, because you can tell that it's black and white if we do that. But instead, I'm just going to leave a little bit of color in there. I'm going to reverse the effect. Once again, if you're just joining us, be sure to watch the replay and you will learn exactly how to do all of that. And I'm going to pencil in a little bit of this kind of black and white, or whatever. Lack of saturation. What's anti-saturation called? Do we have like any art students who can tell me what it is, what something is if the saturation is reverse? Reverse saturation.
It's probably something simple like that.
Reverse saturation.
Or if there's an art term for it, it's some kind of ridiculous term that makes no sense at all. That's art. I'm
going to go ahead and increase the clarity a little bit so that you're able to see this nice shine.
That really rounds off the edges on the top of the mug and on the top of the handle. It made it real sharp.
Looks really, really nice. Now, one little trick that I'm going to teach you how to do.
Desaturate. There you go.
Desaturate. That sounds about right. Let me see. If I save this, is it going to pull up our whole? There it is. All right. So one thing that I do want to do is show you a really cool trick. I'm going to do this at lightning speed here.
That was a risky folder open, homie.
I'm going to go ahead and show you a really cool trick that you can do with things like mugs, reflective products. It doesn't look so good when it comes to like plushies and things. But what I like to do with products like this mug, when you get the photo edited, save a version, but then open the photo back up and pull over the identical photo. So we've got two, right? And I want to make it almost the same size as the original. What I'm then going to do, your minds are about to be blown, okay? What I'm then going to do is go into this little tab right here in the layer settings. And I'm going to switch this to multiply.
Ghost mug.
Ghost mug. So it almost looks like a PNG. Then I'm going to flip it upside down. I'm going to put it directly underneath the original, maybe at an angle so that it shows where it would reflect.
Get turned.
And then I'm going to fade it out just slightly. Now on its own, this would look good. However, what I also recommend doing, because when you see a reflection on glass, reflections aren't one, consistent texture. They're gradient. So what I recommend doing is going back into exposure, going back into highlights, turning up those highlights a little bit. Again, clicking reverse effect, increasing your brush size, decreasing your brush strength, maybe a little bit more than that, and very gently going along and adding a little bit of gradients here. In fact, I might do one more layer of that just to make the bottom a little bit more consistent. Go ahead and turn our brush strength down.
That's super cool. Yeah, she's a wizard.
I'm a wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I am. So we'll go ahead and kind of fade that out a little bit. Ta-da! Isn't that pretty?
Look, it's a mug.
It's a mug. Let's pull up the before and after. Here they are. So pretty, so much more clean and crisp. This one was really easy to do because this photo is, the quality of this photo is about the same as our key quality when it comes to lighting.
The resolution is really good on that picture though.
Right.
It's like there are no jagged edges when you zoom in. Like it's a really well taken picture.
Looks really, really good.
If you're still on there, tell me what you take your pictures with. That's really well done.
All right, so I'm going to go back into photo library. I'm going to pull up. She actually sent me, let's see. All right, so we actually have 2 pictures of this dragon, one edited and one not. However, there was still a lot of shadowing in her edited version. So I want to make sure that we go in and we remove all of this dark contrast that we see in the background. And I might do, let's see. Let's go ahead and start by increasing those highlights in some layers.
2 questions. Are there live streams every week? Yes, every Friday, other than small exceptions when we have things we got to do.
And we usually post a notice in the Handmade Alpha Facebook community, which is linked down below. We post those notices in advance if we're not going to be streaming. And every Thursday night, we announce what the theme of the Friday live stream will be.
Somebody also said, is there any need to fix reflections like the lights on the mug? No, I wouldn't, just because they add that bit of natural element to it.
Right. They're not distracting at all. If it's a reflection that takes up like the entire, right, then there's a problem. Or if you have words on your product and the reflection is washing those out, then yes. But that's not really going to be an editing thing. That's going to be a reshoot the photo thing because there's not a whole lot that you can do. For this particular photo, I would like to crop out a little bit of this white. I feel like there's an excessive amount of white background here. Obviously, when you're actually editing these photos for your own shops, you want to have a little bit of white around the product, but there's no right or wrong amount. It's just this is a little excessive because the product feels so small. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit.
Right, and this makes it look a little more centered and big as well.
Right.
Let's see here. Can you recommend a camera? We actually, I don't even remember what she still uses a Nikon Coolpix from like
L20 or L80 or something.
So I can't remember, but it's from like 4 years ago. Most of our pictures now we're taking with our phones, actually, our Google Pixel 2s.
Yes,
soon to be Pixel 3s whenever those come out.
Yes, we use Google Pixel 2s, and I freaking love that phone. It's like the best phone ever.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely love it. I actually still take my product photos with my I think it's Coolpix L20. It's actually listed, I believe, in my how I take product photos video. So that might be something to watch.
What size do you recommend for a thumbnail?
Etsy tends to resize your thumbnails. You just want to make sure that it's big enough to be crisp. I don't really have a recommended size. Etsy has a recommended size that you can just Google Etsy recommended thumbnail size. But personally, as long as the photo is clear, I don't have like a dimensional recommendation. It's just going to be if your photo is clear enough and easy to see for those actual shoppers.
Annie Christie says, I use a Rebel Canon. Not sure the version, but it's DSLR.
So I'm going to pull up the comparison shots here. I didn't explain a lot that I was doing with this one. I just wanted to show you that it's possible. I'm trying to kind of rush through these a bit since we've already explained the processes in the last few edits that we've done. But here is the before and after. So I'm going to go ahead and delete, and we're going to pop over to the next photo. All right, so we've got a textured wall. We have light flowers. We've got a lot of side shadowing, but a lot of my concerns are with these light flowers. So I'm going to do my best here, but it might actually be better to not hang this on a wall. Whether it's hanging on a wall or you have it laying flat on a white piece of poster board, nobody's going to be able to tell the difference. So I wouldn't worry too much about having it on a wall. I'm going to go into the exposure tab again, increase these highlights, but I'm only going to do it slightly because I don't want to wash out the product since we have it very light flowers.
Few questions. What's the right Etsy picture size? I think we just kind of went over that. Somebody said they recommend by 1,000 by 800 high.
Right.
Let's see here. Cindy, I think you missed my question. Sorry if I missed your question. The chat's kind of been rolling along. I have customers give me their emails sometimes and tell me to email them. Should I just email them since I have their permission? Yeah, that's totally different. If somebody gives you consent, that's consent.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, you really need to start an email list and not just email them. I would recommend actually starting an email list with MailChimp.com. Renee Christine has a really great MailChimp video that will teach you exactly how to do that. But ultimately, if you've got that many customers that you're emailing on a regular basis, you should do it formally, get a mailing list. That way you can make sure that all of your grounds are covered, that you're GDPR compliant. For those who aren't aware, GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. So if you sell to anyone in the UK or you have anyone on your email list in the UK, MailChimp can help to make sure that your email list is GDPR compliant so that you don't get in trouble. Going in here.
I sell dyed yarn. I tried photographing photographing my yarn with a white background and it looked very bizarre. I switched to kind of gray wood background and said okay too. Yeah, whatever looks best.
Once again, it doesn't, when I say white backgrounds, it doesn't have to be stark white. It can be light gray, you know, beige, just something neutral. The reason that we suggest white backgrounds, and Renee Christine does too, if you go to any of Etsy's, you know, beautiful curated, like their editor's picks or the front page of Etsy, you're almost always going to see products on white or light, natural, neutral backgrounds. So if that's what Etsy prefers, that should be a good indicator to us that that's what you should do. People like to get really mad at me and say, Starla, why do you recommend this? And they get really mad at me. But in reality, I'm studying what I'm seeing in the market and what Etsy prefers. So it's not something that you have to do, but it's something that I do recommend.
For the photos, we have our jewelry modeled. Should we say in the description that the pieces will be new and not the ones from the model wearing?
No.
We're not talking about one of a kind. No, I wouldn't, because then most people, I wouldn't even think about that right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you put that in there, they're gonna assume that like, yeah, that person definitely wore this.
Don't even put that thought into their head. When I see,
don't overthink it too much.
Right. I mean, I create my products in quantities of like, you know, my bestseller I've sold 160 of, I believe. I sell them almost every day. So when I post pictures of myself, you know, wearing those sets, my customers pretty much know that that's not the product that they're getting. They're not getting the one that's around my neck. Now, if there's any variations in the product, like, you know, handmade items, obviously, sometimes there will be slight variations in metal tones, or if you paint, there's always going to be slight variations. I do recommend pointing out things like that, you know, every product is unique and yours might vary slightly from, you know, what's pictured due to the nature of our handmade products. Each item is made just for you and is unique in its own way. You know, you can always position it as a positive.
SEO question, but does anybody know what conversion rate, as shown on Etsy Rank, we should aim for on listings?
There's really, we talked about this a little bit in last week's Q&A, so be sure to go watch that. We actually did a Q&A with Anthony Wolf of Etsy Rank, and we do talk about conversion rates. He said, I believe what he said, 1-to-1 is, I can't remember what he said. Our conversion rates were
around 1 to 2%.
Right, 1 to 2%, and we are like overachievers. So 1% is ideal. Oop, I didn't reverse the effect there.
What are your thoughts on adding your logo to your first Etsy pick? I noticed one of my competitors doing this, and I sort of like it.
I do. I add it very small in the bottom right-hand corner. Just make sure that when you add a logo that you're fading it out. For example, let me show you a quick example on this one. In the layering tab, you can actually add your logos by uploading them if you have a PNG file. But for now, I'm just going to pull one of their stickers. We'll pretend that this is my logo. So what you can do with iPicky is just kind of scale your logo into a bottom corner, but then go into the fade setting and fade it out so that it's not overwhelming. I do not like, unless you sell digital products that people can rip off of Etsy, I really hate when I see shops that take their logo and they throw it like right on top of their product. Like that is so distracting. And I don't even click listings that no, if there's a logo right on it. So you can easily apply it in iPicky, just fade it out a bit. Going back in, I'm going to decrease the saturation on this shadow. Once again, not all the way, but part of the way.
Ollie, I think my conversion rates are all around 2%. My best sellers get around 3 to 4%. I guess it's just a case that they get less views than the people that view buy. Yeah, I mean, if they're best sellers, then they're going to have more people that are buying when they click on it. So that makes sense.
Right. If you think that you're getting less views, you know, you could always look at your SEO and just see how your SEO is doing, because they might be finding you externally, see where your traffic is coming from. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you could do. I would look at where your traffic is actually coming from, though. You can view that from your Etsy dashboard. And if most of your traffic is external, then I would conclude that a lot of those people are finding you from marketing, social media, so on and so forth, and really focus some time into SEO. Now, one thing I will say is that if you're happy with your sales, absolutely don't tweak your SEO, because you don't want to jinx anything. But if you would like to see, you know, if there's any potential to grow that listing even more, you could always tweak that SEO to increase your visibility a little bit.
I thought Etsy won't feature listings with logos, or has that changed?
Etsy will not feature listings with logos. They will not put that in. They will not put listings with logos into their curated section. But, you know, for my products, my particular product niche isn't something that really fits Etsy's, their scene, I guess you would say anyway. So that's not something I personally concern myself with. But that is something that you should be aware of. Just keep in mind that Etsy showcases, you know, a very small selection of products. So don't base all your decisions on, oh, maybe someday Etsy will feature me.
If some of your jewelry is one of a kind, is it better to not put on a model and use a mannequin or other side of life photo shot? Will it gross people out if you wear it in a photo? I don't necessarily think so. But then again, we're not one of a kind sellers, so that would probably be a better question for other people that may have experience with that. I personally don't care, because I would assume that they're putting it on somebody that's not gross.
Right. Let us know in the comments, how would you feel if you bought a one-of-a-kind piece and the picture that you saw on Etsy is of a model wearing it, but the shop was really clean and professional looking? Right. Would you be grossed out?
Somebody actually commented and said most vintage sellers I see wear their jewelry, so I wouldn't think it's an issue personally. I'd rather see it on a person. Yeah, most people that do the vintage thing are kind of into the vintage thing themselves, so they'll typically wear it before they even sell it.
So here is our before and after shot. This shadow is very severe. I actually would take more of this shadow out if we had more time. But for the most part, I think that this photo looks significantly better than the original. Nice and clean. There still is a shadow to show a little bit of depth. The flowers are really popping, even though they are still light. I really like how this one came out. So I'm going to go ahead and discard, go back to my photo library.
How long do you want to go? Because it's one.
I'm going to go ahead and do this last one. So for everybody who wasn't able to make it onto this one.
They said as long as it's not piercings. Yeah, that's illegal, I think. So yeah, don't do that anyway.
So this one I picked because it's cute and it's, you know, I've been planning Thanksgiving. I actually planned our big Thanksgiving dinner, like our event page and stuff for family. So maybe I'm just biased. Super duper cute.
Somebody says clothing and hats they have a problem with. If it's clothing and hats, it's likely not one of a kind anyway. So I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Yeah, I would.
Unless it's like signed clothing from like somebody famous or something, it's probably not one of a kind.
Yeah, but clothing. If it's signed clothing, then maybe you want that body funk, like.
Right. But,
you know.
But not the seller's body funk. Yeah.
I want to get Brad Pitt's I don't know. Boxers.
Ew.
Ew. I don't like Brad Pitt. My mom loves Brad Pitt. I'm not a Brad Pitt fan.
I don't want any of that coin pouch stain on the Brad Pitt undies that you buy.
Oh, no, some people might like that.
Ugh, freaking gross.
All right, so what I've done is I've increased the highlight a little bit, and I increased the exposure around the actual clear clip here. I assume that the problem with this photo is that this little clear area is getting washed out a bit. So what I'm going to do is go into clarity to kind of define the edge lines of the plastic, and that's going to make it look a little bit crisper. I actually see a dark spot that I missed up top now, so I'm gonna...
Good job.
What?
You missed a spot.
Oh.
Few questions. How do I find iPicky? Is it free? Yes, it's linked down below the video.
Right. Be sure to go back and watch the replay if you missed it, because otherwise you're going to be really lost. And my entire training series that will teach you how to use iPicky is also linked down below. So, you know, this is just me showing you guys how I personally use it.
Natasha, do you think you could up the exposure a bit to soften the shadow, or would that look totally weird?
If you up exposure, the problem with that is it actually washes out the product. So you can do it.
You can use the tool though.
Right. You can use exposure to kind of lessen shadows. You just have to be really careful when you go around the edges to actually, you know, make sure that you're not drawing on the product. Now, one little cool trick, if you can see, there's a little dark spot of dirt here. Sometimes on my keys, I'll get little flecks, like we can kind of see a little white fleck here. And that's normal, especially if you take pictures outside. You're bound to get a little bit of dust. What I like to do is use this tab right here called Retouch. This is meant for skin, but you can use Blemish Fixer to get rid of dark spots, and you can use Shine Remover to get rid of light spots. So I'm going to go into Blemish Fixer to show you an example. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Here's this little spot. Just give me a minute before you read that. And I'm going to hover right over top of this little spot and tap my mouse, and now it's going. And now I'm going to do, let's see, here's one more little dark spot here. I'm going to apply, and now I'm going to do Shine Remover to get rid of that tiny little spot right here. There we go. Ta-da! And it kind of gets rid of those little spots that you see. So, okay, you can go ahead and read the question.
Is there any way to take an expired or inactive listing and make it a draft again? I'm working on ornaments and I want to list some of my previous ones, but I wanted to edit it as a draft before listing. Unfortunately,
I don't think so, because I have that problem all the time. What I basically do is I edit those listings, and I actually, on the launch days, I will just keep the tab open and just activate the listing when I launch everything. Like when I select everything to be launched from my drafts, I then have the tab open already with all the edits that I needed to make for the old listing, the sold out or expired listings, and I manually launch those. So here's the comparison shot. This one is nice and crisp. This one is a little bit faded. So thanks for everybody who submitted photos today. I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing, and we'll answer our last questions. If you guys end up having any, feel free to post those real quick down below. We'll hang out until about, it is 1:09. Let's say we'll hang out until maybe 1:15. Give them like 5 minutes to ask some questions. Okay, go ahead.
Somebody said, I can't wait for your one-of-a-kind training program. You're probably going to have to wait. It's probably going to be a little while. Well, it'll get there.
The thing is, just like the Handmade Alpha Academy took forever, Handmade Oak Academy is going to take a significant amount of time. So just make sure that you're on my email list. You'll get all the details, but I don't even have a release year in mind for that yet.
No. Is there a VIP site with other trainings or just email? Are you talking about our stuff? Because we have our email training series. We have all of our YouTube videos. We have the Academy, which opens back up in December.
So all the places that you can find things. All the links are down below. The Handmade Alpha VIP list is where I send the goodies, the freebies, the updates about live streams. You know, anytime I have something cool for you guys, I send it by email. We also have the Handmade Alpha Facebook community link down below. That is our Facebook group where I will occasionally pop in, post, you know, cool things, but mostly that is for you to chat with I think we have like 5,000 almost 6,000 alphas now in that group. And then also, we've also got the Handmade Alpha Academy.com, where you can, that's basically where you can find, like, that's our landing page. You can find our email list link there if you want to join it. We've got the link to the YouTube channel listed there. If you're here, you already have the YouTube channel, obviously. And make sure that you subscribe too, because when we go live, you'll actually get a notification that says, hey, Starla's live right now. So you know when to go watch. So be sure to do that as well. We just reached, what, 9,000 subscribers? Yeah, so that's super exciting.
Just a quick question about the mentoring. I've applied to be a mentor. I'm just wondering how long it usually takes to get matched. So when we started that, the group was quite a bit smaller than it is, and it's nearly impossible for us to keep up with how many people apply on both ends of that.
We have 80 people pending in the mentor program, and nobody who's in the mentor program really knows what they're doing. We've had a couple people who are successful with it, but as an admin, I can't see what's going on in the mentorship programs. It's not something I created. This is a Facebook thing that Facebook made, and they asked, you know, I got an email that said, do you want to test out this mentorship thing? And of course I was like, sure, that sounds great. So I started it, and a few people used it. A few people just kind of bailed on it and stopped, you know, working through it. And now we have so many people in pending that I'm probably going to get rid of it, unfortunately, because we actually have to pair people manually based on their needs, and going through a list of 80 people is really difficult, even with me, Mark, Lisa, and Dolly.
That's 80 people waiting as mentors. That doesn't include people that are looking for mentors.
Right. So
it creates more work than it solves problems. Because you have one person who, say, takes on 3 people. Those 3 people are all going to send us a message with questions. The mentor is going to send us questions. And then we're going to have to take one person off, give them to somebody. It creates way more. It's not that we don't want to, it's that we can't. And we cannot keep up with that on top of our current schedule.
And not only that, the mentorship program, people misinterpreted what it was for. It wasn't, there are no like Handmade Alpha employees working in there. These are for other alphas to connect with alphas for emotional support. Like, hey, I need some motivation today. It was supposed to be more of like a motivational and idea group, but people were applying for, you know, mentorship. Like, hey, I need a SEO mentor. Hey, I need a photography mentor. That's not what it was designed for. And it's just turned into such a mess that I might, unless people really start using it again, our current mentors and mentees, I'm probably going to phase it out, because no one knows even where to find their mentorship groups. And I can't get into mentorship groups. Those are private between you guys. So it's just been a mess. Facebook didn't structure this really well.
No, it'd be good for groups that are specifically meant for that. I think for people that need like psychological help, or maybe they need legal help, maybe that would be a good use for that. But, or maybe a school program, actual mentorship programs.
I have a couple alphas who are talking about carpooling to the event that I'm speaking at. All the information about the event is linked down below. It is on October 28th in Columbus, Ohio. If you are interested in doing a carpool, we have quite a few alphas in the Ohio area who want to carpool for the event. Feel free to post in the Handmade Alpha Facebook community if you would like to discuss carpooling, but just know all of the safety, you know, things, just make sure that you talk to the person. We're not going to be held liable for any weird craziness that goes on. Make sure that you get to know the person. Make sure that you have faith that it's a real person. Obviously, Elena, we know you're good, but just make sure that we just have to cover our grounds a little bit if you decide to carpool. But if you want to carpool.
Shay says she's going to be coming out to see us.
Cool. Awesome. Be sure to tell me who you guys are, because I only know you guys by profile pictures, and obviously I'm probably
don't be mad if we don't recognize you by face, because we probably won't.
We only see like this little bubble.
We try, yeah. We don't ever have the time to just go through and look at everybody. I put potpourri in my cellophane bags, and when I take pictures, it glares a lot. Any advice?
Take them outside. Take them outside, and when you're taking your photo, I like to take a piece of paper and almost hold the piece of paper over the product, hold the camera in the other hand, and use it to direct the light so that I can avoid glare. So if you angle that around, you can usually manipulate the light enough so there's not as much of a glare.
And I also, because I mean, once it's in the cellophane, that's probably the packaging you're sending it in. I imagine you put it in something else as well, but maybe take it like in a bowl or in a display that you would put potpourri in, that kind of thing.
Right. Take multiple photos of it.
You could still have your packaging and stuff, but I would make it like a display kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
And keep in mind for that event, I did mention previously, but we will be giving away 2 scholarships to Handmade Alpha Academy class of 2019. So that's going to be, this is the only time I think I'm going to give away scholarships.
I don't see any more, but anyone want to come pick me up from England? If you pay for the tickets, I'll come pick you up.
He'll just come and he'll like pick you up and like bring you to Ohio.
I passed through ground school. I don't have my pilot's license, but if you buy me a Cessna, I'll come pick you up.
Let's not. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I know that this was more of just a chill kind of Q&A. I'm starting to get sick, so I apologize if I was really stuttery. Our sinuses have been so bad.
Weather's changed drastically.
Yes.
It was 90 degrees last week, and it's been like 50s and 60s this week.
It was 41 this morning.
Ooh.
It was 90 last week and it was 41 this morning. So I am just so sneezy. If you guys like this video, be sure to
breezy,
McDeezy. So if you guys like this video, if you liked seeing these live edits, feel free to let me know. We can do more of them in the future. Normally I only do these for Handmade Alpha Academy students. And you know, because that's like one of the perks is I will actually sit and edit a photo live with you so that you can kind of see you know, exactly what you should be doing for your particular photo. So I'm sorry for anybody who I couldn't get to today. Obviously, we have 8,000 Handmade Alphas and not a lot of time. So I do appreciate everybody who participated. And if I didn't have time for you today, just keep an eye out and we might do another one of these where you can submit your photos. Have an awesome weekend, everybody, and we will see you next Friday. Bye.